Good evening, welcome to Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. There has been a collective meltdown, for want of a better phrase, that's happened across the border in Pakistan. There are two reasons for this. One, of course, the absolutely pathetic performance of the Pakistan cricket team. And two, the way the Indian team has performed. It's been a story in contrast. So there have been allegations of pitch change before the semi-final. There are also some crass comments about Indian women like Aishwarya Rai and even racially abusing a legend of the game like Sir Vivian Richards. Nothing could explain what is happening in Pakistan other than, of course, that phrase that I used a moment ago, collective meltdown. Now, look, let's be very fair about this. We too, as a nation, have had our collective meltdowns. Most notably, we've seen our ups and downs in 2007 when the team had a bad leg in the 2007 World Cup in West Indies. MS Dhoni's home, for example, was targeted. 4 years later, he went on to become the World Cup winning captain. But that is one thing. Somehow, the depths and the crassness of the conversation that we're seeing across the border, it has never sunk this low, at least in our country. So what then explains it? Collective meltdown is a phrase to describe it, but what really is the underlying factor? There could be political factors, what the country has been going through economically, and this team, this Pakistan cricket team coming into this tournament was billed as the number one in the world, but their performance clearly has been subpar. But first, let's put all of this into perspective for you, and then we'll go across to our special team of guests who are joining us tonight for this special debate.
रोहित शर्मा जब टॉस करते हैं वो दूर फेंकते हैं जी, और दूसरा कैप्टन जाके कभी नहीं देखता कि वो सही उसने कॉल। ठीक है,
अगर आपकी सोच ये है कि मैं ऐश्वर्या से शादी करूं और वहां से बड़ा नेक परहेजगार बच्चा पैदा हो, तो कभी भी नहीं हो सकता।
चलिए, तो काफी मैंने तब एक शेर लिख दिया था भाई।
Let's just outline the controversies for you. Number one, that whole comment that was made by Abdul Razak. This was again in a post-match analysis of what went wrong with the Pakistan cricket team. He basically made a comment saying that if he were to marry someone like Aishwarya Rai, it doesn't mean that virtuous children would be produced. Clearly, it was a crass comment, a comment that was misogynistic, and he went on to face a lot of flack on social media, after which he apologized a good 24 hours later. Then, of course, the controversy involving Sikandar Bhakt, where the former Pakistan player basically said that Rohit Sharma, every time he tosses the coin at the toss for the World Cup, he would toss it so far up and so far wide that the other team captain or anybody else couldn't see that, to which, of course, people retorted, including Wasim Akram, saying that he feels embarrassed that a former Pakistan player would make such a comment in the first place. Then, of course, there was the controversy surrounding Ramiz Raja. And Ramiz Raja, mind you, is one of the most suave, English-speaking, educated, really sophisticated guy in Pakistan cricket. He was part of the ICC panel of commentators even for this World Cup, and he laughed off. There was this sort of shire, if I can use that phrase, that one of the hosts that Ramiz Raja was part of the TV show. One of the hosts made this shire referring to the legendary Vivian Richards and his affair with Neena Gupta, and she referred to him as quote-unquote Kalia. Now, to which Masaba Gupta, the daughter of Neena Gupta and Vivian Richards, lambasted Ramiz Raja, saying that this is an absolute disgrace, that he shouldn't have been sitting through a comment such as that, and that too on a legend of the game, a legend with whom Ramiz Raja has played in the past, and to actually smirk away such a comment by the host of a show is completely uncalled for. In fact, Masaba Gupta's tweet is part of our Motorola India's Best 5G smartphone brand Tweet of the Day.
Hello, Moto.
All right, so this is what she has said, and I'm going to quote from it. Dear Ramiz Raja, sir, grace is a quality that few have. My father, mother, and I have it in spades. You have none. Sickening to see you laugh on national TV in Pakistan. It's something that the world stopped laughing at about 30 years ago. Step into the future. All three of us are here with our chin up. And this happened right after, of course, Sir Vivian Richards was there in the gallery, in the crowds, watching yesterday's match as India defeated the New Zealand team to get into the finals of the 2023 World Cup. So let's go straight across to our debate. Is the Indian team's success irking Pakistan, and does that necessarily fully explain the kind of collective meltdown that we're seeing across the border?
Hello, Moto.
Okay, so what explains what is going on across the border? Yes, a collective meltdown is a phrase that we use oftentimes in cricket, particularly in the subcontinent when teams perform badly. But does that fully explain the depths to which we're seeing conversation go across the border in Pakistan? Here in our studios, Ayaz Memon, senior journalist. He's covered a number of India-Pakistan rivalries, not just in cricket, but for a number of years now. Venkatesh Prasad, the former India player, joining us, and Murali Kartik, former India player as well. Ayaz, let me start with you first. Like I said, look, if our team performed badly, and we have in the past, and we've had a collective meltdown as well as a country, but somehow the crassness of the comments, what explains that? I mean, how does it even begin to work?
So, I mean, some of it is bizarre, what Sikandar Butt said. You know, the kind of logic that is deployed to explain why India is doing well. It's bizarre, to say the least. And what's happened with Ramiz Raja, I don't know the vintage of that clip, but it's distasteful in the extreme, whenever it was said. So, I think the meltdown has largely to do with the failure of their own team. The team has done very badly. It was expected to make it to the semis. It hasn't made it to the semis. But everything in today's day and age gets amplified on social media. So who's saying what, we don't even know from where it's coming. And you try and locate it somewhere, and then everybody reacts to it. So I think that the intensity and the sheer magnitude of what we call the meltdown is, in today's day and age, becomes humongous. When something starts, it goes viral, it triggers off all kinds of reactions.
But Venki, you know, one part of it is of course what Ayaz said, that the team has performed badly, and they came in with a huge billing. I think they were number 1 in the ICC World Rankings when they came into this tournament, so everybody expected them to do well. And the degree to which they performed badly, it's not just the fact that they performed badly, but just how badly they performed, that is something that was a factor, no doubt about it. But does that fully explain the kind of comments? I mean, talking about Sir Viv, you know, a racial abuse against him, Aishwarya Rai. I mean, come on, you don't expect that kind of stuff.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, that shows the culture, as simple as that. That shows how they are thinking about a lot of things. You know, they're not able to match. I mean, match not just the Indian cricket team. They cannot even come close to India in any aspect, in any subject. And you know, some of the comments that we are hearing from cricketers, coming from cricketers, from Pakistan cricketers, I think it's pretty sad. And as they already said, it just shows that they don't have the culture. And if they have to say something about the game, they need to stick to the game. I mean, not bring in personal issues or racial issues and stuff like that. They should be knowing about all these things, and as it is, we have stopped playing any bilateral, you know, with Pakistan, whether in Pakistan or in any of the neutral venues as well.
Correct.
Of course, definitely not in India. And I'm sure the government is going to look at this very seriously, and none of the Pakistani cricketers would be allowed to even come and commentate, be it you know, World Cup or be it IPL or any of those you know, products.
I just outlined the 3 controversies that were there. There were more as well. I mean, there was this thing about the change of the pitch before the semi-final that ICC somehow overlooked the fact that India asked for a change of pitch. There was this whole controversy around Bakar Yunus asking for the whole change of ball business, that instead of 2 balls have 1. Maybe there is some merit in that. I don't know as a bowler what you feel about that. But some of the theories that were being put forth, it just beggars belief.
The one you're referring to is the one which Hassan Raza alleged, that Indians are getting a different ball. With coming back to what Vakar said, I think I'm with it. The reason why I say that is, in trying to help the bowlers, the two new balls haven't helped anybody.
Okay.
It's only helping the batters and the kind of scores you're
saying,
talking
okay.
about. But the one which Hassan Raza referred to was the fact that ICC are possibly handing out special balls to...
That was bizarre.
Look, and the funniest is half these things are bizarre. And Zaka, one thing which I've realized over the last few years from some of the statements which come from that part of the border is you get a feeling they're saying this maybe to get eyeballs. You look at the YouTube shows of many people, they just want to rake up some horse shit to get the eyeballs, and that is exactly what I feel. And some of the people who are saying it have some dubious past, so that's the funniest. It's like it's the pot calling the kettle black, sort of a thing.
If you look at the Abdul Razak clip, for example, I mean, it's bad enough what he said. There were two other former internationals who were sitting
and they were clapping.
To his left and his right, and they were clapping. It was like they were gleefully enjoying what he was saying. So it's not just, individual cases or, okay, this guy is a black sheep. But it's like there are two other guys, and again, former internationals. One of them is a captain, former captain. Goes on to sort of, applaud and glee and smirk.
I haven't seen the clip, but I don't know why he was using the name of somebody as a metaphor for whatever point he wants to make. If he wants to make a point, he makes a point. There's no need. Because what has happened, I think just take up from what Kartik said. If you watch some of the YouTube shows involving a lot of stellar names, and the main focus seems to be about what's happening in Indian cricket and Indian stars, and their own, of course.
Massively.
But there's so much. I think there is obviously an obsession about Indian cricket because Indian cricket is doing magnificently.
It's a big case of sour grapes. Massive case of sour grapes.
And not just in the World Cup. Generally, Indian cricket is, is at its peak right now. So there is interest and there is obsessive interest, and that obsessive interest then leads to all kinds of things happening, and then everybody piling on and trying to make their own. Sometimes they're competing amongst themselves for eyeballs, as you mentioned. And that Sikandar Bug thing, I mean, somebody who's played cricket for a fair number of years.
Hafiz said something about Virat. Mohammad Hafiz said something
about being selfish, right? About
being selfish.
I mean, my point is, okay, I understand, I mean, we're all in the business of media, so I understand the eyeballs argument to an extent, but you don't have to be crass to get the eyeballs. I mean, case in point is this Wasim Akram show, again, from that same place, very classy show, talking cricket, and they acknowledge, I mean, you give credit where credit needs to be given. So if Bumrah and Shami are bowling like the spells of their lives, a former legend of the game acknowledges it. He can see it. He can recognize it. And again, it's not like that show is having any less eyeballs, right?
I honestly, I'm not very sure. I don't really go through any of these, So, as I said earlier, Zaka, that it's sad that a lot of these sort of comments coming from past cricketers who have played for Pakistan, and I never expected such comments. And it's embarrassing for sure.
But this comparison stuff, I mean, I understand some of it is human psychology. It's the bigger country, bigger economy. You want to be, I mean, let's say Pakistan did well, or let's say even if Pakistan won against India in the league game, maybe these comments wouldn't have come. Maybe the yardstick for measurement would have been different.
I actually feel it would have been even worse then. They would have. I feel there could have been a bit of one-upmanship, saying that look, we have beaten you, sort of a thing, because things coming from certain sectors, and you mentioned India as well. We have not covered ourselves with glory. There have been times, and I was saying this yesterday. Lots of knives would have come out if India hadn't beaten New Zealand.
No, but suddenly, from the T20 World Cup 2021, when toast of the country, Mohammad Shami.
Our own people
absolutely,
and he was trolled mercilessly.
How many times
in 2007? I didn't say this at the start, but Dhoni's home was torched. At least a part of it was.
Other times as well, people have been targeted. The houses have been stoned.
Exactly.
We have not covered ourselves with glory, but I feel that such things coming or emanating from any part is absolutely disgraceful, distasteful, and too below the belt.
So even this Shami comment that you made, I mean, we've seen him being targeted in the past. Not just from people here, but there have been sort of trolls from all over the world. So ultimately, does it boil down to just performance of the cricketer? The performance is good, everything is forgiven, and everybody is in love and hunky-dory and stuff?
That seems to be, I mean, social media is so mercurial, Zaka. I mean, we know that. Shami has taken 23 wickets in this tournament.
Exactly.
And he's now the toast, as I mentioned, he's the toast of the nation.
Yeah.
And even when he was not chosen for the first 4 matches, there were lots of guys saying, you know, acha hai, bahar rakha hai.
Yeah.
Some nonsense like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, it also depends on how much attention you want to give this, because there is no end to that. That kind of, there are all kinds of fringe elements and elements that are wanting to dive in. Anybody sparks or light a fire and everybody wants to come and kind of warm their hands there.
Okay, so let me also go across to our Pakistani guest, Rizwan Haider, is a sports journalist who's joining us from Rawalpindi. Rizwan, like I said, sport is sport. We're all sort of fans of the game, and we want teams to do well. We want the Pakistan team to do well. Unfortunately, they didn't, which is fine, which is how the game is. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But does that fully explain the kind of very crass comments that we've seen on Pakistan shows, whether it is Abdul Razak and what he said about Aishwarya Rai, whether it was Ramiz Raja smirking off a very openly racist comment about a legend of the game like Sir Viv Richards. What explains that? I mean, we're using the phrase collective meltdown, but I'm not sure that fully explains it.
Hello to all of you, and it's nice to be here. Kartik, sir, and Prasad, and Yasmin, it's a privilege to be here with you. First of all, congratulations to all of you. The way your team is playing, India, they are the #1 ranked team, and they are playing like a champions. Bowling, batting, and all the departments, they are too good. And the discussion which is going on, some guys here, like you mentioned, Hassan Raza and Abdul Razak, and the other guy, the old guy, Sikandar Bakht, I don't know when he will start talking sense. So they are talking rubbish. No doubt about it. Like, for God's sake, when you won't realize that you are lacking in basic skills, look at India and top 4 teams which reached the semi-final. And look where we are standing. So there is no comparison. We are far behind in skill set. So when you won't realize that you're not good enough, you won't progress. You won't do well in the future. And a few guys, they don't represent the whole society, to be honest. We condemn Abdul Razak. Even it's beyond condemnation. But we condemn Abdul Razak and the other guy, Hassan Raza. He was talking nonsense. Another different balls being given to Mohammad Shami, and he's doing all the magic. They don't represent the whole Pakistan. There are so many, these 3, 4, 5 people. But as you mentioned, there are some other guys who are talking and who are appreciating Indian team. So they do it on purpose. If they don't talk these nonsense,
Okay.
People are talking to us. It's a very key point. Once I talked to a former cricketer, and his some statement, it gone viral, and that was nonsense. I said, why you do that? He said, if we are not playing cricket anymore, if we don't talk like this, then nobody gonna talk about us.
Okay.
So that's one of the thing too.
So I guess, I get that. Some of it is an attention-seeking ploy or whatever, but that's fine. But is there something more to it, Venki? Because clearly, Pakistani society has been through a lot of turmoil. Their politics is in a churn. Economically, they're not doing very well. And you have this big neighbor against whom you've always had this sort of inferiority complex, this competition going on for a number of years, number of decades now since independence, suddenly doing very well. So is all of that also rubbing into the performance of the team? And again, like I said, not rubbing into the performance of the team, but all of that rubbing into this collective psyche, because if the team performed well, maybe these comments would not have happened.
I suppose so. I mean, there's a lot of instability. There's no doubt about it in every aspect, as I said, in Pakistan, be it economics, or be it governance, or leadership, or and sports. I mean, there is instability, and I guess they are not able to, it's a case of sour grapes, as Kartik said. They're not able to sort of digest the fact that India is doing so well in every field, be it science or technology or sport or not just in cricket, when I'm talking about sports, even in Olympics as well, or Asian Games and so on. I mean, so they're not able to, I suppose, digest the fact that we are doing so well. And the way they can seek some bit of attention is by talking such rubbish.
There's one more thing which I want to bring everybody in on. And Rizwan, thanks for the kind words with regards to India. Think of someone like Ramiz Raja. We've all worked with him, and Ramiz Bhai, as you said, is very suave, very well read. His family is into calligraphy and stuff like that, and we've all worked together. I can understand as the head of PCB, you had to take a stance. That, oh, if India don't come to Asia Cup, and that's what it is, we won't go, and all that's fine. But how is it, whether you call it hypocrisy or a contradiction, how is it that once you've been out of PCB and you're happy to take that visa and come here as a commentator to the same country where you didn't want your own team to go?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I think that's like you said.
He's not in the position. He's not in the kursi.
But if you took a stance as a PCB chairman that this country, our team won't go to India, then how is it that you are in India?
I guess it boils down to economics, right? It boils down to
our team was here in Pakistan and he was already in India before our team, by the way.
No, but Rizwan, what I also want to know is, obviously a lot of this is revolving around the fortunes of the team. But a team that came in as number one build, you had all your superstars from Babar to Rizwan to Shaheen Shah. Somehow they just didn't collectively gel. Something clearly went wrong in the last 6 weeks, that as a team, as a unit, they just didn't come together.
You're right. Actually, our team, it is number 5th or 6th ranked team if you compare with the other top teams. So the maximum we thought that maybe if they play some decent cricket, they end up in top 4. Somehow they managed to go to semi-final. But as you mentioned, not only the bowlers, talk about our spin bowlers. Probably they were the worst in the tournament. There were 10 teams and our spin bowlers, they were lacking in discipline. They were bowling full tosses and they were not accurate with their line and length. And over fast bowlers, look at Haris Rauf. He is the most expensive bowler ever in a World Cup. He gave away 533 runs. And Shaheen Shah Afridi, he took just 3 wickets in power play, though he has taken 18 wickets. And but the wickets he should have taken at the power play. And then our batting, with the timid approach, you can't excel at the international level. It was expected that they do well. But we believe that our team, it would be sort of miracle if they somehow end up at top 4. And look at the other top teams.
So let me ask about the bowlers, because Pakistan has always been known for their bowlers, right? From the Wasim Akram, Waqar Younis days, even before that, the Imran Khan days. Rizwan made this point about the spinners. I think it's a fair point. The fact that you basically have to get 20 overs through 2 spinners or 3 spinners, they just didn't seem the part. And then, of course, it gets compounded by the fact that your seamers as well were not picking up wickets early on, whether it's Shaheen Shah at the top, Haris Rauf, who was this top build T20 bowler, again was getting cleaned out across the park.
It clearly showed in their performance that they didn't have a strategy, they didn't have a plan, and whether it's as an individual or as a team, I'm sure they wouldn't have any sort of a goal to achieve. They just came in, of course they're all extremely talented cricketers, there's no doubt about it, but it's just that they didn't execute well enough, and they didn't play as a unit. There was no cohesion. I'm sure there would have been some bit of disagreement. There was no proper communication between the captain and the selectors. So obviously when the communication is not clear enough, there is definitely going to be confusion, and everybody will be in different directions. So they won't be going in a single direction, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But Zaka, I think there's daylight between the quality of players that India has and what Pakistan has. We see them as arch rivals, but that's fine. There is no comparison. You're looking at a team which has actually not done well. I mean, and everybody's going by ranking. Ranking is not going to make you a champion.
Yeah, of course.
Ranking you can get by playing Zimbabwe, West Indies, etc., etc., and reach the top. You know, you were thrashed in the Asia Cup coming into this tournament.
Yeah.
You know.
See, with due respect, with due respect to
and
the great bowlers that Pakistan has produced.
No, but that's in the
But
past.
again, correct. Yeah. But again, how many wickets would you like to give them if there was no reverse swing, or if there was something else in the reverse swing?
So that's
So
that's
does
difference.
the fact that they were using
this is
two
what
new-
I feel.
Does the fact that they were using 2 new balls explain why they were not able to come back in?
No, I think
No, I
it's a
don't
sheer
think so.
quality.
No, I don't think so. That
The
is
quality
for
of the
every team.
players.
That is
Okay.
for every team. You have to adapt
Yeah, you have to
to
adapt.
the fact that this is the new rule. You're going to have one fielder less for 30 overs. So the spinners have to adapt and figure out what their game plan is and how they're going to change their skill sets. Well, for the 2 new balls, it's the same for every
See, when
side.
you
I don't
fare
think
so
that is
badly, and you seek refuge in conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm amused and shocked at Sikandar Bucks because the match referee is there. He's
Yeah.
the captain, he can toss it wherever he wants.
Yeah,
It doesn't mean
exactly,
anything.
exactly.
You know, it's bizarre in the extreme.
I mean, in this day and age, Rizwan, of live broadcasts, it's all completely televised and it's happening live. To say that Rohit Sharma is throwing the toss so far away that nobody else can see, I mean, it's churlish, it's kiddish. I mean, it's there on the cameras. The cameras catch which way the toss has gone. Forget about the people who are there, the commentators, the match referee, and so on.
Well, as I mentioned before, when you don't match the quality, you come up with these excuses that different ball is being given and the DRS is manipulated in favor of Indian team and the stuff like this. But I have a different point of view. I'm not saying at all that ICC or BCCI, they are doing something fishy about the toss. But I remember in my childhood, I used to see the coin when it used to land. So there's no harm. I'm not saying it that there's something fishy going on. As you mentioned, both the captains are there, referees are there, and captains, they can watch the coin. But in the future, I think that would be nice if the toss just lands and cameramen, they are there. So there is no harm in showing the toss. I'm not saying it in that context that something is fishy is going on. I'm just saying it as a viewer that would be nice. It will add more sense. I don't know why they're not showing it.
The ICC
It's not in this World Cup. It's been since ages that they stopped it.
So it's very difficult for a cameraman to actually zoom into the toss because you've got so many cameras, one panning at the toss presenter, a few at the other captains, because I do the toss, so I know.
Yeah.
So you've got the spider cam, which can zoom in, but you want to do it and it's like, what are you trying? It's that sort of a thing.
10 teams.
Well, there's no harm in
9
it.
teams.
And I know, if you want to add, if you think that is going to add to
and
the...
no captain has raised an issue.
Yeah, exactly. No captain has raised this
somebody
issue,
sitting
including
Sikandar
the Pakistan
Bucks-
captain.
And
Yeah.
one more thing,
Nobody has
Zaka,
raised it.
if you look at even IPL, all these modern day captains and modern day players just toss that in a very stylish way. And sometimes, it's a coin. It can land and it can go anywhere.
Yeah.
If it lands on the mat, obviously it's got the friction and it's going to stay there.
So does the fact that they don't play IPL and this high intensity cricket for 2 or 3 months every year, and I don't think Pakistani players, forget about the IPL, I don't even think that they play other big T20 leagues around the world. I don't
They
see.
do. They do
I mean,
play.
some of
Some
them
of the
do,
players
but
play,
but
yes.
not the
And
important
Pakistan
ones,
has
the main
its own
ones.
league.
Yeah, but then the quality of that league is not quite the same as, let's say, the Big Bash or the 100 or even the IPL.
5-6 players in Big Bash. I
So
think.
my point is, how much of that has a bearing on the performance of the team?
It's an interesting one because you can sometimes say that too much IPL is also affecting India, whereas IPL is high quality. There have been times when our own people have said, "Oh, these guys have just finished so much IPL," and then you've got a big Test series coming up against South Africa or Australia. So, what is enough? How much is enough? I don't think that's ever been the case. Sometimes, as you use the word collective meltdown for the start of the show, I think it's a collective failure. As Rizwan said, if you're spinners, they are the best spinners. And if they don't land the ball, if they have got a landing problem, and if you're Shaheen Shah Afridi, who is a wonderful bowler, Haris Rauf, who's quick and has got wickets, if they don't fire together, if you're Babar Azams of the world or anybody, they themselves kept Fakhar Zaman out for such a long time.
Yeah, correct.
So you can't...
Yeah, Rizwan.
I want to add one more point in it. It's not like because Pakistan, they don't play IPL. The problem is most of them, they don't play domestic cricket. Look at the first class matches of Haris Rauf. Haris Rauf, He has played barely like 2-3 first-class matches, and this is the case with almost all the cricketers. They don't play 2-3 seasons directly.
No, but Rizwan, this is the same.
Cricket is
Rizwan,
different.
but this is the same Haris Rauf who, in the T20 World Cup last year, was completely, taking apart batsmen.
And many of our players,
exactly, many of our players could not figure him out.
Many of our players
So what changed between the last T20 and what happened in this World Cup?
So look, you are talking about 4 overs. Like he can bowl 4 overs, and interestingly, he plays from Lahore Qalandar PSL team, and their coach Aqib Javed. After the World Cup performance, he said it's not our fault. We prepared him for the 4-over cricket, and you took him for the World Cup for 10 overs. He had to bowl 10 overs. So technically, he didn't play.
As a bowler, does that make a difference? I mean, you're wired to bowl just 4, so you're thinking, okay, it's 36 balls.
See,
it's 24 balls. Where do I get?
It's easy work, isn't it? Just playing T20, bowling for 4 overs, and if you bowl well, fair enough. If you get hit, also it's fair enough. You tried your best. That's how it is. Whether it's bowler or a batter, so you can't complain at all.
Whereas in
and where normally, you try, he tried. I mean, what people say is a bowler tried and he got hit. That's about it. Yeah, so that's why it's very important to play the longer formats and bowl hours, bowl overs and overs in a longer format, and bowl hours and hours in the net. And that's exactly what even Wasim Akram or Waka Yunus and Shoaib Akhtar, they've all been talking about the same. Now they don't want to just bowl more.
It's a very different one, because in 4 overs, you're not bowling 4 overs on the trot. As a seamer, you might bowl 1 now, 1 staggered. Everything is staggered. Whereas in test match cricket, which tests you, you have to bowl long spells, you have to come back again after a day of fielding. And in one day cricket too, in these hot conditions or whatever conditions, 4 over, 5 over spell are very different to 1 over spells or 2 over spells.
Also, from what I remember, I mean, I could be wrong on this, but even in T20 cricket, Haris Rauf usually comes after the fielding restrictions are eased out, after the power play restrictions are eased out. But anyway, be that as it may.
Zaka, I think also there are a couple of things. One is that the domestic structure is shallow, is hollow in Pakistan. In India, right from the age groups of 12, 14, 16, 18, the whole structure, the edifice is very robust. And there's so much serious competition that is played. There is no Ji Huzuri which gets you into teams. Not even at the IPL level. You can't do Sifarish and get in.
No, also I think one of the points that Ganguly had made, that your domestic season starts from like September, October,
that was
goes
the convention
all
in
the
Asia.
way till May, which means like for a good 7-8 months in a year, day in, day out, you're just playing.
I think they've had 3 board PCB presidents in the last 3-4 months. There's been so much churn, so much
also
change.
in India, what's been happening is, as I think Kartik and we've all been talking about, that even most of our Indian cricketers, they don't play domestic, and quite a few of the past cricketers been talking, they've been saying that they have to be playing domestic cricket as well, for the simple reason, the youngsters, they find a lot of inspiration, and these guys can set an example, and our cricket can even get better and better. Like how Kartik, I'm sure, would have experienced playing with some top cricketers when he was coming up, or the way I experienced when I was coming up. So it is very important for the Indian international cricketers or any international cricketers to play in the domestic league.
Okay, so let me come back to where I started off, and I'll get closing comments from everyone. I'll start with you, Kartik. Do you see Babar Azam has now resigned. I don't know who is the new captain for the team in different formats. Shan Masood, I think, for the shorter formats.
And
Shaheen Shah for the T20.
Shan Masood.
But do you see the Pakistan cricket team sort of recovering from what they've gone through here? Because, again, I come back to when they played in Ahmedabad and people were saying, political slogans were raised against them and it was a hostile crowd and so on and so forth. But that's, you're international professional cricketers. I mean, this is what you're expected to do. No one's going to cut you slack just because the crowd was hostile. Try telling that to the Australians.
So sometimes when you look at these things, you have to try and figure out which is the Gangotri or the source of the problem. Over there, now suddenly the captain has been asked to resign, or he's resigned. I'm hearing that all the coaching staff is going to be asked to leave. Already Morne Mokal has left. As Ayaz, they said he might go. As Ayaz said, they've had so many different PCB chairmen. Suddenly, I think Mohammad Hafiz has been appointed as the director of cricket. So if you have so much confusion, and again, as a player, I can tell you, why is Rohit Sharma so good and Rahul doing so well? Because whatever it is, there is transparency, honesty. This is what it is. You have to come on board with what we are doing.
Yeah.
So that is what has to emanate from the top.
Yeah.
And people have to buy into it rather than suddenly certain tributaries and going somewhere and not knowing where the confusion is.
And by the way, I mean, it's not like starting off from ball one or game one that this combination, Rohit Sharma, Rahul Dravid, had success. No. I mean, they went through a very, very lean phase, a very tough phase. But then the point is, you got to believe in a certain philosophy. You know, Rahul Dravid, I think, explained that about this, you know, hitting at the top. And he said, you know, Rohit Sharma as a captain has bought into that you can't be playing one-day cricket with no, you know, disrespect to any of you guys, but you can't be playing one-day cricket of the 90s is what he said. That's the phrase he used.
Very true.
And if the captain at the top has bought into that vision and he's going out there and expressing himself in a way that the rest of the guys can, you know, take some time and have some leniency in expressing themselves.
So you got to set an example. You got to lead by example. Lead from the front. Now that's exactly what Rohit Sharma is doing, and he has been also given that freedom to express, as you rightly mentioned, which you know, Pakistan, they didn't have a leader. The leader couldn't the leader couldn't lead from front.
The PCB
and there was no cohesion or proper communication. See, you need all these things if you want to be a champion team. You need to have clear communication. You need to have commitment to the goal that you set in. You need to have a cohesiveness.
Yeah.
You know, and credible coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, these are all of you. The C is actually a championship team, which you know, it's clearly evident that the Pakistan team doesn't have.
So Zaka, you can look across the cricket world, and there are cricket boards or cricket playing countries which are in turmoil right now, and it's reflecting in the performances. As you mentioned, stability all round. Sri Lankan cricket.
Yeah.
There's so much political intervention.
West Indies.
Yeah.
Even South Africa. I mean, they've reached the semi-final here, but they've had a very, you know, rocky,
tumultuous.
As they say, make better bad mistakes.
England went through a lot of till they, you know, kind of refocused, rebooted, figured out. They haven't had a great tournament, but last 5 years have been very good for them.
Yeah.
The epitome of consistency over the last maybe 10 years, and maybe that answers the question, has been India. And then Australia. Australia have had their own hiccups.
Yeah.
They've regrouped.
Yeah.
The teams and countries with strong, robust structures.
Yes, exactly.
You know, stable administration, selectors, players who are committed, all that, coaching, very important. Then you start producing players who are going to be consistently good. But otherwise, it is all hawa.
You can't create insecurity. If the coaching staff is not secure, if nobody is secure, what do you expect the teams to do?
Yeah.
You've reached #1 position, you can't win the World Cup.
Exactly.
I don't think they were won.
Exactly.
I think
I mean, look,
briefly.
I keep going back to this. When the Indian team was under Kohli and a different management, it's not like that team performed badly.
Yeah.
The one sore point was not winning ICC tournaments.
Correct.
If that is the ultimate goal, and you know, like I said, the Dravid combination with Rohit Sharma, you know, they went through baptism by fire. They didn't. It's not like success came early to them, but they went through that phase.
WTC finally
they lost a lot of matches, a lot of big tournaments. They went through that phase, and now the results of that are there to see, because ultimately the thing that you wanted was winning an ICC tournament. And today, yes, India is best placed to win that game. We'll know what happens on Sunday. But Rizwan, final word: where does Pakistan cricket go from here?
Well, instability in PCB, it reflects in the team as well. Every year they change the domestic structure. Sometimes they just keep 6 teams. Sometimes they say, okay, we gonna involve the regional teams in the domestic structure. After 2 years, there's a different structure. And they need to minimize the gap between domestic and international cricket. Look at the Indian team. Their 6-7 top players, they were not available. But they won the Test series in Australia. Why? Because the domestic structure, it's the more or less, if the players they have played, Mohammad Siraj, I think he had played 30-40 matches. They played the first class matches. And then they went to Australia and they won the series. So you need to minimize the gap at the domestic, at the international level. And then probably your team will do well.
That's true.
All right. Let's see how this plays out for Pakistan cricket. I always believe that, a strong Pakistan cricket is actually good for world cricket. But unfortunately, this team and the kind of record that they've had in this World Cup, that of course leaves a lot to be desired.
But best wishes for the final.
Yep.
It looks like that it would be India versus Australia.
We don't know that just yet.
All our wishes are,
but we'll
all
see.
our wishes are with you guys.
All right.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
It's not like if the few people are talking negative. So majority of the people, they're not like this. So we wish you the best for the final.
Thank you, Rizwan. Thank you so much. We'll see how it plays out on Sunday for India versus whoever it is. We don't know yet who that is. All right. Thank you to all our guests here in the studios as well.